could die the death that's in the world without dying eternal death.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. There's probably thousands and millions of people out there wondering about that. That was an awesome explanation of that.
Well, I think most people don't believe that's God on the cross.
Yeah.
Taking our death into himself.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
But as we walk into this, we want to keep in mind these kinds of things because we can find ourselves in the place where there's people that believe in soul sleep.
Yeah.
Right? That believe that you lose all consciousness when you pass away, and that you don't have any thoughts. You're not even like in a coma.
Mm-hmm.
Like in a coma, you even have thoughts.
Yeah, right.
Where I don't even know how to describe it. To me, that's pretty much like eternal death.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But listen, for me, I don't know what anybody else says, but for me, Jesus was never in that place.
Right.
He was always aware. He's God. Right? He was always aware. He always had thoughts. He wasn't off in some place where he had no consciousness and he was in some type of soul sleep. For that to be true would mean the Father, or that God ceased to be God for a little while.
Yes.
That for a little while, the Son was now separated from them. Right? That the Son wasn't part of God anymore. Right?
Yeah.
And that can't be.
No.
That can't be.
He died a physical death, just like we die,
Yeah.
to defeat that death.
Yeah.
Because that which was in him is greater than that which is in us.
Yes.
Prior to
Yeah.
salvation.
And this is where, and I love what Maurice just said, but this is where we get screwed up because we have such a Gnostic belief about the scriptures that we think the death that we died was a spiritual death.
Yes.
We first and foremost
true.
define it as that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then we say Jesus had to come and die a spiritual death.
Yep.
Listen, man, the Holy Spirit was in Jesus. The Holy Spirit doesn't leave a person who's braided together with God.
Yeah.
Right? So Jesus was never apart from the Holy Spirit. The centurion said, truly, this is a righteous man. He was never separated from the Holy Spirit. Otherwise, he never could have come up out of Hades.
Sure.
He never would have come up out of Hades if he didn't have the Holy Spirit, if he wasn't that Spirit when he went down into Hades.
Yeah.
Right? And so we have to be careful with how we describe what a spiritual death is. Okay? Because a spiritual death is not like what we think of a spiritual death, or that's the primary form of death. What happens is death manifests in the body. That's where it first happens.
Sure.
Death manifests in the body, or the fruit of death manifests in your body. That presses in on your soul. Right? That brings sorrow and pain and darkness and death to your soul. Right? That's death. The soul and the body. The spirit would be the place, like the heart, in the sense of the place where your belief system is. Right? So Adam believed on a wisdom that wasn't from God after he saw his nakedness. He adopted that wisdom. He was of that spirit.
Yes.
Okay? Now, the death he had was in his body and in his soul. That's the death he had. Soul, body. Soul, body. The spirit? No. The spirit is just a part of the person. Right? Like their design. Does that make some sense? I know that's complicated.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
But when we get off into trying to explain life and death by just a spiritual thing, that's where we can get off into Gnosticism.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
The death had to be conquered in our body. The thing that tormented our souls was the death we saw.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
That's what tormented our bodies,
Yep.
our souls, was the death we saw in our bodies. That sent us off to labor and toil. Right? That gave us a certain way of thinking that said life and death is found in the strength of the flesh. Right? And then we began living by the works of our hands, trying to overcome death.
Right. Right.